Don't look at the camera, right?
Right. Well, but we're looking at the person. Look at his life.
Have you ever been affected by any type of disease? Have you ever had your family affected by any type of disease? My grandfather was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in his early 60s. My grandmother found a tremor in his hand and took him to the doctor. He passed away a few years ago at the age of 81. There are other people that you may know of that have Parkinson's disease, like one of the greatest boxers of all time, Muhammad Ali. He was diagnosed at the early age of 42. Also, Michael J. Fox, who you'll recognize from the Back to the Future movies, was diagnosed at the early age of 30. Nearly 1 million people in the U.S. are living with Parkinson's disease. Between 50,000 and 60,000 new cases are diagnosed every year. But what is Parkinson's disease? What are the symptoms? How do you become diagnosed? And how can you help? Parkinson's disease is a progressive disease of the nervous system marked by tremor, muscular rigidity, and slow, imprecise movement, mainly affecting middle-aged and elderly people. The main thing with Parkinson's disease is that it progressively gets worse and worse. My grandfather, in his early 60s when he was first diagnosed, was able to still function normally. He was able to drive and go out and things like that. And as it progressed, it got worse and worse, and eventually he had to be put into a nursing home so that they could care for him and watch over him. Most cases of Parkinson's disease occur in people over the age of 60. But some develop the disease much earlier in life, like Muhammad Ali and Michael J. Fox. The causes of the disease are still unknown. Many experts believe that it is caused by genetic and environmental factors. Aging is an important factor with the disease. Many scientists also believe that understanding what causes the loss of dopamine cells may result in developing treatment. Now that we understand what Parkinson's disease is, let's look at the symptoms of Parkinson's disease. There are 3 categories of symptoms. You have your primary motor symptoms, you have your secondary motor symptoms, and you have your non-motor symptoms. First, let's take a look at the primary motor symptoms. There are 4 main symptoms that make up the primary motor symptoms. You have resting tremor, slow movement, rigidity, and postural instability. Now, a resting tremor is a shaking movement in a particular body part. It usually occurs when a person's muscles are relaxed. In the early stages of Parkinson's disease, 70% of people with the disease experience a slight tremor in either their hand or feet on one side of their body. The tremor usually stops when the person begins an action, so it's only when they're at rest, when their muscles are at rest. The second main symptom of primary motor symptoms is slow movement. This can give the appearance of abnormal stillness and a decrease in facial expressiveness. This causes for people to have difficulty with everyday functions. The third main symptom that makes up the primary motor symptoms is rigidity. Rigidity causes stiffness and inflexibility of the limbs, neck, and back. An affected limb is always stiff and does not relax. Sometimes causes a decreased range of motion. The last main symptom that makes up the primary motor symptoms is postural instability. This is one of the most important signs of Parkinson's. Postural instability is the tendency to be unstable when standing up. A person with this symptom has lost some of the reflexes needed to maintain standing up and can fall backwards easily. The next category of symptoms is called the secondary motor symptoms. The main symptoms that make up this category are freezing, micrographia, mask-like expression, and unwanted accelerations. First, let's take a look at the symptom of freezing. Now, freezing doesn't refer to being cold. It refers to the hesitation before stepping forward. People with this symptom almost feel as if their feet are glued to the floor. The second main symptom that makes up the secondary motor symptoms is micrographia. Micrographia is the name for a shrinkage in handwriting. This gets worse and worse the more the person writes. Now let's take a look at the symptom mask-like expression. This means that a person's face with Parkinson's may seem less expressive than normal. This symptom occurs from the symptom of rigidity. The final major symptom that makes up the secondary motor symptoms is unwanted accelerations. Unwanted accelerations is when a person experiences movements that are too quick, not only in movement but also in speech, and this can cause for a lot of people with Parkinson's disease to fall if they have this symptom. Secondary motor symptoms also consist of difficulty swallowing, cramping, drooling, stooped posture, and also includes other symptoms. The final category of symptoms is called non-motor symptoms. Early symptoms in this category would be symptoms like loss of smell, constipation, and mood disorders. Other non-symptoms would be low blood pressure, weight loss or gain, vision and dental problems, fatigue, and other symptoms. It is important to know that not all Parkinson's victims have all of these symptoms. Only a certain amount of people have some symptoms, other people have other symptoms, and some people may have some symptoms more than other people. Now let's consider the diagnosis of Parkinson's disease. Usually, the first diagnosis is by an internist or a family physician. Many people will seek further help and see a neurologist. Neurologists are people who specialize in diseases of the nervous system. The physician will examine the patient when they go in for tests. Is the patient's expression animated? They will observe the arms of the patient for possible tremors. They will also see if there is stiffness in the patient's limbs or neck. Can the patient rise from a chair easily? Does the patient walk normally? And check the balance, and they will check the balance of the patient. Mild cases of Parkinson's disease can be difficult to diagnose. The additional testing is to make sure that it isn't anything that imitates Parkinson's, like stroke. There are a lot of diseases and other things that imitate Parkinson's disease. There is no diagnostic test to diagnose Parkinson's. Researchers are working to make an accurate test to diagnose it. The best way to test for Parkinson's is certain brain scanning, but that is really expensive. And finally, what can you do to help? You can donate money to the National Parkinson's Foundation. There's also the Michael J. Fox Foundation, and there's also other foundations. You can also raise awareness by educating yourself and others. Seek professional help if you notice maybe a friend or a family member who is showing some of these symptoms of possible Parkinson's disease. It could be something else, but you always want to get them checked just to be sure. In closing, I hope that you now understand what Parkinson's disease is, and that I hope that if you see someone that you know or a family member with that you will seek help. And I hope that you know the symptoms, the diagnosis, and I hope that you know how to help.
Michael!